What would you do if you discovered a private manuscript proving that a helpless woman was secretly a monster, only to find one final letter claiming that every horrifying confession was fiction? A woman who cannot speak, a husband who believes he has lost everything, another woman slowly entering his home, his grief, and eventually his heart. And somewhere inside that house, two written versions of the same life, each capable of turning the victim into the villain. This is The Disturbing World of Verity by Colleen Hoover, a novel in which the most dangerous object is not a weapon. It is a story convincing enough to be mistaken for the truth. Lowen Ashleigh is already close to breaking when the novel begins. She is a struggling writer with little money, an uncertain career, and a life that has become smaller after the death of her mother. Emotionally isolated and naturally observant, Lowen is far more comfortable studying other people than allowing them to study her. Then an unusual opportunity appears. Jeremy Crawford, the husband of best-selling author Verity Crawford, asks Lowen to complete the remaining books in Verity's successful series. Verity has been severely injured in a car accident and is believed to be incapable of continuing her work. For Lowen, the offer could solve almost everything. It could pay her debts, rescue her career, give her the security she has never had. But accepting the contract means traveling to the Crawford family home, entering Verity's office, and searching through her private notes for material that can help complete the series. Lowen believes she is taking over another writer's work. What she is really entering is another woman's marriage, another family's tragedy, and a house filled with stories no one has finished telling. The Crawford home is beautiful, but it feels strangely frozen. It carries the silence of a place where too much has happened and nothing has truly healed. Jeremy lives there with his young son, Crew. Verity remains upstairs under constant care, apparently unable to speak, walk independently, or respond meaningfully to anyone around her. But Verity's condition is only one part of the family's suffering. Jeremy and Verity once had twin daughters, Chastin and Harper. Both are dead. Chastin died after a severe allergic reaction. Harper later drowned during a family outing. Soon afterward came Verity's accident, leaving Jeremy with one surviving child, a wife trapped inside an unresponsive body, and a home shaped by unbearable loss. Jeremy appears gentle, patient, and exhausted. His grief is quiet rather than dramatic, and that quietness draws Lowen toward him. He seems like a man who has spent years caring for everyone else while slowly disappearing inside his own pain. But the most powerful presence in the house is still Verity. She lies silent. She cannot explain herself. She cannot defend herself. She cannot correct the stories being told around her. Then Lowen finds a manuscript hidden inside Verity's office. It is not material for the book series. It appears to be an unfinished autobiography, titled, So Be It, a document so private and disturbing that it seems never to have been intended for another reader. Lowen opens it looking for insight into Verity's writing process. Instead, she finds what looks like a confession. In the manuscript, Verity describes her relationship with Jeremy as an obsession. She does not merely love him. She wants to possess all of his attention. Anything that comes between them becomes a threat, even their children. Verity writes about pregnancy not as a joyful beginning, but as an invasion. She claims that the unborn twins changed Jeremy's focus, and that she resented them before they were even born. She allegedly tried to end the pregnancy because she could not tolerate the thought of sharing him. After the twins' birth, that resentment becomes darker. According to the manuscript, Verity develops affection for Chastin while emotionally rejecting Harper. She convinces herself that Harper is less loving, less deserving, somehow responsible for the distance growing between Verity and Jeremy. One daughter becomes precious, the other becomes the enemy. The manuscript is frightening, not only because of what Verity claims to have felt, but because of the calmness with which she writes it. The cruelty is not hidden behind confusion. It is described with the clarity of someone examining her own darkness without shame. Then the manuscript connects those thoughts to the deaths of the children. It suggests that Verity blamed Harper for Chastin's death, and later, that she deliberately caused Harper to drown. For Lowen, the discovery changes the meaning of everything in the house. Verity is no longer simply an injured woman lying upstairs. She becomes a possible murderer, a hidden danger, a mother who may have destroyed her own family and then survived. Inside the image of helplessness, Lowen initially tells herself that she is only reading the manuscript, because it may help with the writing contract. But she continues long after it becomes clear that the document has nothing to do with completing Verity's series. She begins as a researcher, then she becomes a witness, then a judge, and slowly, perhaps, a rival. Once Lowen has read Verity's account, every detail inside the house begins to feel suspicious. She thinks she sees Verity's eyes following her. She notices subtle changes in expression. Objects seem to move. At times, Verity appears to be watching when no one else is present. Crew makes unsettling remarks, but he is too young to explain what he has seen with certainty. Lowen becomes convinced that Verity is more aware and more physically capable than she pretends to be. Yet the novel never allows this suspicion to remain simple. Verity tries to communicate and defend herself, but Jeremy no longer sees a wounded woman. He sees the person who, according to the manuscript, murdered their daughter. He kills her. Lowen helps him conceal what happened. At that moment, the story appears to offer closure. The manuscript was true. Verity was dangerous. Jeremy and Lowen acted against a monster. They can leave the house behind and build a safer life together. And for a while, that is exactly what happens. Lowen and Jeremy become a family. Lowen is pregnant. The darkness of the Crawford home seems to belong to the past. Then Lowen discovers a hidden letter written by Verity, and everything becomes uncertain again. In the letter, Verity claims that the manuscript was never an autobiography. It was a writing exercise. She says she created the voice of a villain by rewriting her own life from the darkest possible perspective. As a novelist, she was experimenting with how completely she could inhabit the mind of an evil character. According to the letter, Jeremy had previously discovered the manuscript and believed it was real. His reaction was violent. Verity claims that he tried to kill her, and that the crash presented as an accident was connected to her attempt to escape him. She says she pretended to remain incapacitated because she was terrified. Her stillness was not part of a plan to harm Jeremy or crew. It was a survival strategy. She remained silent because she believed Jeremy would kill her if he knew she had recovered. Under this version of events, everything Lowen witnessed changes meaning. Verity's secret movements were not evidence of manipulation. They were the actions of a trapped woman preparing to escape. Her watchfulness was not predatory. It was fear. Her attempts to leave with crew were not the actions of a dangerous mother. They were the actions of someone trying to protect her child from the man who had already tried to kill her. But the letter does not solve the mystery. It only creates a second manuscript. And like the first, it was written by Verity. There are now at least 3 possible truths. The first is that the manuscript was genuine. Under this interpretation, Verity was exactly what Lowen feared. She resented her children, caused Harper's death, manipulated Jeremy, and pretended to be incapacitated so she could continue controlling the family. The final letter, then, was simply one last act of manipulation. Verity was a successful writer. She understood how to create believable voices. Knowing that she might be exposed, she could have written an alternative explanation designed to make herself appear innocent. If the manuscript was true, Jeremy and Lowen stopped a genuine danger. But even then, another moral problem remains. They acted as judge, jury, and executioner based largely on an unverified document. The second possibility is that the letter was true. Under that interpretation, Verity's manuscript was fictional, a dark, creative exercise that Jeremy misunderstood. Jeremy had already tried to kill her. Verity survived by pretending to be helpless. Lowen entered the house, read private material without context, became emotionally involved with Verity's husband, and helped confirm his belief that Verity deserved to die. If this version is true, then Lowen and Jeremy's new family is built over the murder of an innocent woman. The third possibility may be the most disturbing. Perhaps both documents contain lies, and perhaps both contain pieces of truth. The manuscript may include real resentment exaggerated into fiction. The letter may include genuine fear reshaped into self-defense. Verity may have written each document for a different purpose and imagined a different reader. One text confesses, the other persuades. Both attempt to control how Verity will be understood. The novel may not contain one hidden answer waiting to be discovered. Its real subject may be the human need to force uncertainty into a clean conclusion. Lowen's final decision reveals how powerful that need can become. She does not show the letter to Jeremy. She destroys it. By doing so, she protects their relationship. their child, and the future they have built together. But she also destroys the only evidence capable of challenging the story that justified Verity's death. Perhaps Lowen believes the letter is another manipulation. Perhaps she thinks doubt would only destroy Jeremy again. Or perhaps she cannot bear the possibility that the letter is true, because then she would have to face what she helped him do. Lowen may begin the novel as vulnerable and financially desperate, but she does not remain innocent. She invades Verity's private world, allows the manuscript to shape her desire, participates in a killing, and then chooses which version of reality is permitted to survive. Jeremy is equally difficult to define. He may be a devoted father broken by unbearable grief. He may be a husband manipulated by a woman capable of horrific acts. Or he may be a violent man whose tenderness lasts only while he feels secure and believed. Verity herself cannot be contained by a single interpretation. She may be a monster, a brilliant manipulator, a writer destroyed by her own imagination, a terrified woman, or a complicated mixture of all four. Some readers find Verity sensational, morally extreme, and deliberately provocative. Certain parts depend heavily on shock, and some character decisions can feel psychologically exaggerated. But the novel remains compelling because it does something more unsettling than simply hide the truth. It makes the reader participate in constructing it. We read the manuscript with Lowen. We feel its intimacy. We treat its details as evidence. Because the writing sounds confessional, we begin to believe it must be honest. We forget that creating convincing lies is precisely what novelists do. Then the letter arrives and forces us to examine how quickly we decided who deserved sympathy and who deserved punishment. That is the deeper horror of Verity. A written story can become more powerful than a living person. Once a narrative explains our fear, grief, or desire, we begin protecting it. Evidence that supports it feels obvious. Anything that challenges it begins to look like deception. And when certainty becomes emotionally useful, doubt can feel dangerous. Perhaps the most frightening thing in Verity is not the possibility that a monster wrote the manuscript. It is the possibility that ordinary people read a story, believed it completely, and used it to justify the irreversible. Because when two versions of reality contradict each other, we do not always believe the one with the strongest evidence. Sometimes we believe the version that protects the life we want. So if the truth threatened the life you had finally found, would you still choose to uncover it? Or would you destroy the final page?